I would like to call to order the March 16th, 2026 regular board meeting of the State College Area School District Board of School Directors. If everyone could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance if you are able. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone joining us this evening, both in person and remotely. The board held an executive session prior to this meeting regarding personnel. Board members, with the agenda before you, do you have any additional changes to this agenda? Yes.
Not a change to the agenda, but we had an executive session on personnel and we had an executive session on discipline.
Oh, thank you. Yes, there was an executive session on discipline as well. Thank you for that. So noted. Okay. In that case, I'd like to call on the board secretary to conduct a roll call of the board members.
Dr. Anderson?
Here.
Dr. Bader?
Here.
Dr. Barlow?
Here.
Ms. Black?
Here.
Dr. Dino?
Here.
Ms. Damaris?
Here.
Ms. Huff?
Here.
Dr. Rozon?
Present.
Dr. Miller?
Here. Thank you, Lynn. I have a retirement announcement this evening. Nigel Wilson will retire at the end of the 2025-2026 school year after 41 years with the district. Mr. Wilson was hired in September 1985 as a bus driver with the Transportation Department and has remained in that role since. Transportation Director Van Swiger said Wilson was always quick to jump in and help whenever needed. Nigel has been a valuable member of this team for 41 years, Swiger said. His dedication and professionalism in transporting students for so many years is commendable. He will be greatly missed. The board thanks Mr. Wilson for his service and wishes him the best in retirement. And now Mr. Johnson will provide the superintendent update.
Thank you, Aaron. March is Youth Art Month, a national celebration highlighting the value of visual arts education for K-12 students. Prior to tonight's meeting, students in grades K through 12 presented to the board and administrators with pieces of their artwork. I am always impressed by the creativity and talent of our students. Thank you to our students and wonderful art teachers in keeping this annual tradition. And that would be it.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. One of my favorite traditions for sure. I'd now like to call on Lily Selensky, one of our student representatives from State High, to share this evening's student update.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. Delta High senior Connor Hill won first place and the $250,000 grand prize in the 85th Regeneron Science Talent Search. Hill was among 40 finalists who attended a week-long competition in Washington, D.C. Connor created a full list of mathematical shapes called Nobel Polyhedra, addressing a long-standing math puzzle. A full story is on our website. State High Publications is proud to announce that 3 seniors have been recognized in the 2026 Student Keystone Media Awards presented by the Pennsylvania News Media Association. Tanner Cohagen received the High School Diversity Champion Award, which includes a $500 cash prize. Noah Radio earned a second place in general news for the articles WPSU's Imminent Closure Draw, Strong Community Response. Ellery Potter received honorable mentions in Photo Story for 7 Days at State, a collection of moments from Homecoming Week. Congratulations to Delta student Holly Winford on her performance at the Poetry Out Loud competition in Harrisburg. Holly was among 14 finalists from the state invited to Harrisburg to compete. Holly made it to the final round with a top 5 finish. 7 State High students traveled to the 5th annual Susquehanna Sales Pitch Competition, competing against 80 high school students from across the region. We're proud to celebrate some incredible results. 4th place, Sol Lee. 6th place, Joey Galeo. 10th place, Liberty Peachy. Every State High student who attended earned a $1,000 scholarship to Susquehanna University. 20 Scasti musicians performed for the Pennsylvania Music Educators Association's Region Orchestra, joining top orchestra students from Western Pennsylvania. The ensemble performed at Heinz Hall in Pittsburgh. Evan Zane, a junior violinist from Scasti, served as concertmaster, principal first violinist. Rishi Bhattacharya was principal oboist. 9 Scasti students advanced to the Pennsylvania All-State Orchestra by ranking at the top of their sections. Rishi Bhattacharya, Eric Chen, Gus Clement, Helen Kiffer, Elsa Kroll, Ian Lee, Stephen Lee, Levi Nicholas, and Evan Zhang. Congratulations to these students and the orchestra director, Emma Van Allen. State High DECA had an incredible showing at the Pennsylvania DECA State Career Development Conference in Hershey last month with more than 100 students competing. We're proud to share that 27 State High DECA members qualified for the DECA International Career Development Conference in Atlanta this April. Additionally, Saul Lee and Clara Kraft were nominated to represent Pennsylvania DECA as state officers. Clara will serve as District 4 representative, and Saul will serve on the Executive Council. First places went to Spencer Stevenson Peck, Financial Marketing Series, William Leo, and Aiden Lee, Finance Team Decision Making, Caleb Hatfield and Sol Lee, Hospitality Team Decision Making. Congratulations on this wonderful achievement and good luck at the conference. At the recent PIAA State Wrestling Championships, State High's Tag Sanderson fought his way to an incredible third place finish. Congratulations to Tag and the coach, Jason Nickel. At the Pennsylvania Track and Field Coaches Association Indoor Track and Field State Championships, Luke Bradbury took third place in the mile. Great job, Luke. Lastly, but most impressively, State High's Molly Workman capped a historic career by winning 4 gold medals during the PIAA Classes 3A Girls Swimming and Diving Championships in Bucknell's Kinney Natatorium. This has to begin. Thank you. Workman was named swimmer of the meet in her efforts as she set a PIAA record and earned individual gold in the 50 freestyle. Additionally, she won gold in the 100 freestyle. She then went on to win 2 more gold medals in team events. The 200 freestyle relay of Isla Reddit, Ellen Wardoff, Molly Stainer, and Workman won gold, and the 400 freestyle relay of Ellen Wardoff, Isla Reddit, Gabby Skeeman, and Workman also won gold. Congratulations to Molly and the entire team, who finished 4th overall. Also the coaches, Aaron and Jamie Workman.
Thank you, Lily. That was a mouthful. And congratulations to everybody that was just named. We're a lot of impressive students in this district. Jackie, do you have any legislative updates for us?
Yeah, I have a few items. So I attended the IU10 legislative breakfast last Friday, which was attended by Representative Armanini, Representative Carrie Benninghoff, Senator Chris Dush was also there, as well as Representative Kephart, as well as staffers from many of our representatives from around the region. It was a really nice conversation. Representative Benninghoff actually asked the audience about cell phone policies, and so we got to talk about that a little bit, which I really appreciated. And so it was a great time, and hope more of you can come next year, but I know it's a tough time. A few other items. I wanted to let you all know that the submission window for PSBA's 2027 legislative platform opens on April 3rd. So if you need more things to do in your life, you can take a look at their platform and see if there are any edits and or additions we'd like to propose this year. And then also, as a heads up, I wanted to let you know that the PSBA Advocacy Day in Harrisburg will be Monday, May 4th. And the Ed Voters of Pennsylvania Advocacy Day will be Wednesday, May 6th. So I'll probably go to one of them, probably Wednesday. But of course, we should talk and potentially carpool if you all are interested. So that's it for tonight. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Jackie. Jesse or Jennifer, do you have any updates from COG?
Nothing new to report. They haven't met since we last spoke.
Okay. All right. In that case, we now have time for public comment. Each individual will be allotted up to 3 minutes for items related to board business that are not on a consent or action item this evening. For those items, public comment will be held just prior to our voting on that item. Please state your name and where you reside in the district. Is there anyone here registered online who would like to make a public comment?
So I have Lizzie Oldfield.
Lizzie at Holefield? Lizzie Holefield, are you online? No, maybe not. Okay. In that case, is there anyone else present or online who would like to make a public comment at this time? Okay. In that case, we'll move on to the consent agenda, which includes several items that we will address with a single motion for approval. To facilitate any questions or discussions, we will go through each category individually. Board members, please raise your hand if you need clarification of any of the items as I present each group. First, we have consent item approval of minutes. This is pretty straightforward. No changes. Next, we have operations. We have a few CTC contracts. We have some budget transfers, human resource recommendations. Questions about those? All right, in that case, the final consent item we have is for instructional programs for student travel. Pretty short list tonight. All right. I'd now like to call for a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items 6 through 8.
Demo, so moved.
Barlow, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or discussion on the consent agenda?
I just thought it was great that the old van was listed at, it was a 2005. So like, that's a long time
It
to
is.
have the van. And so I just wanted to mention that. So the one
is
that
a
we're
long van.
replacing. So that's
I
really
know.
great.
Thank you,
Oh,
Van.
yeah, so that's it.
Okay. Any other comments? Any public comment about tonight's consent agenda? Nobody online? All right. In that case, board members in favor, please say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, we will move on to our action items. Agenda item 9A is a motion to approve a 2025-2026 agreement. There is no attachment for this item. May I have a motion and a second?
Have so moved.
Anderson, second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or discussion about this? Okay. Is there any public comment about this action item? No? Okay. In that case, board members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, action item 9A carries. Next is agenda item 9B, which is a motion to approve the 2026-2027 IU general operating budget. This is shown in attachment 9B. May I have a motion and a second?
Have so moved.
Demo, second.
All right, have a motion and a second. Is there any question or discussion about this action item? Yep.
So as your friendly IU10 representative, I just want to remind you that this is something we do every year as part of the operations for the IU. IU10 is one of the few intermediate units that does not charge any membership fees to its districts. So we are not contributing directly to the budget anyway, other than what we contract the IU for services for. So this is just standard operating procedure in terms of approving that budget for the year. And so I already approved it once, so I'll approve it again tonight.
Excellent. All right, any other discussion? Thank you, Jackie. Is there any public comment about this item? All right, in that case, board members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Agenda item 9C is a motion to approve an HVAC replacement for the natatorium. This is shown in attachment 9C. May I have a motion and a second?
Demo, so moved.
Anderson, second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or discussion about this item? Pretty straightforward. Is there any public? Oh, did you have a question?
Not more, just a quick comment. Being the natatorium can be a pretty cost-intensive portion of our facilities to operate. I'm not saying we don't do what we're doing, but it might be helpful to have some kind of eventually like a 5 or 10 year oversight of like what the typical costs are in terms of maintaining it. I know we get these significant costs pop up now and then, and we talk about how it's been so long and we need to do it, but I don't know if we've ever just had a sense of like on a 10-year schedule, we usually spend X amount of dollars to maintain the natatorium. It's just might be helpful for understanding as we kind of budget over the long term. Just a question thought for future planning.
Okay. Was that part of our facilities master plan?
Or maybe we have had it, but I don't.
I just have a question.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Are you talking about from a maintenance perspective or from an operating?
Valid. They are separate costs.
Asked questions, but I wasn't
You're
sure.
right. I guess I'm mostly primarily thinking about the facility maintenance part. Just we know that parts are, it's parts and supplies. Just so
That's
that
what
as
I
we track
assumed,
costs
but-
over time. Yeah.
Yep, okay.
I've just never thought about it in a ballpark total. Might be a good idea to think about.
Don't we have the master for athletics coming up? Maybe a good idea.
Yeah.
Any other comments on this action item? Discussion? Is there a public comment about this action item? right, in that case, board members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Agenda item 9D is a motion to approve facility upgrades for the same auditorium. This is shown in attachment 9D. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Anderson, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion about this action item? It's good. All right. Is there any public comment about this action item? In that case, board members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. All right, moving on. Agenda item 9E is a motion to approve the district's participation in the Patton Township traffic calming proposal. This is shown in attachment 9E. May I have a motion and a second?
Demo so moved.
Have second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or questions about this action item? I think we've discussed this already. Yeah, go ahead,
Just
Jesse.
one question. Have we already talked to Patton Township about this, or so?
Question for Randy.
Yeah, I guess. Sorry, I made Randy get up.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Have we already had discussions with Patton Township about this?
So Patton Township manager had approached myself and Mr. Fisher. After the last board discussion, I shared the recommendation that came out of that discussion with the manager, yes.
Okay.
All right. Other questions? All right. Any public comment on this action item? No. All right. In that case, board members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, we have agenda item 9F, which is a motion to approve the purchase of a collaborative robotic arm for our engineering students to gain knowledge and experience with computer integrated manufacturing. This is shown in attachment 9F. May I have a motion and a second?
Anderson, so moved.
Barlow, second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or discussion on this action item?
I'll just add that we received notice today that we were awarded the grant, so this will not be coming out of the alternate funding.
Excellent. Thank you, Randy.
You'll
We
you'll
like
be
grants.
accepting that grant next board meeting.
Excellent. We like grants. Yeah.
I just wanted to make a quick comment of thanks and appreciation for the CTC that they seem to always find a way to find a grant to pay for these really cool new tools that our kids get to use. So appreciation for that.
Absolutely, I agree. Other questions, comments? All right. Is there any public comment on this action item? In that case, board members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Agenda item 9G is a motion to approve the purchase of a transportation district van. This is shown in attachment 9G. May I have a motion and a second, please?
Demo so moved.
Have second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Are there any discussion or comments about this action item?
This was the van.
Okay.
I'm just so
We're
excited
so-
about, like, I
she's-
like that we take good care of
We're
our things.
so excited about the van.
I'm sorry, I'm just too
Nothing wrong
excited
with
about
that. All right. Any other comments, discussion? Is there any public comment on this action item? Anybody excited about a van? All right. Seeing none, board members in favor, please say aye. Oh, sorry.
Aye.
Oh, who had a comment? Oh, did you want to make a comment? Oh, okay, all right. In that case, okay, all right. She's excited about the van too? All right, let's try it again. Board members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that motion definitely carries twice. Okay, wonderful. And that concludes our action items for this evening. We're going to move on to our information reports. Mr. Brown has already joined us at the table, and he's here to review a recommendation to complete a request for proposal for energy broker services. Mr. Brown?
Thank you. I'm not going to repeat the memo. I'm going to add some commentary based upon a conversation that I had with Mr. Greg Shively from Greenside Development just today. We are looking to pursue purchase of power based upon the action that you took just recently. We are electric contracts end in June. Normally, we would go to RFP for service providers such as Green Sky Development. And then that energy broker would help us engage to make purchases of electricity from the open market. What I'm recommending is slightly different. We currently have agreements with both Green Sky Energy and NRG that would allow everything to continue as is for up to 5 years. However, I'm going to recommend that at a future meeting, unless there is board discretion, the administration's recommendation would be to engage with Green Sky for 1 year as a commitment, keeping that 5-year agreement in place with both organizations. They both have an opt-out within a very short period of time. I can't guarantee if it's 30 days or less, but I think 30-day window is pretty valid. The agreement that we have with NRG allows for pass-through pricing, which also allows for the broker, in this case would be Green Sky Development, to lock in prices if there was an appropriate opportunity to do so. As we know, energy prices have become very volatile in recent weeks and months. They've been volatile at different times over my career of doing this, and they are not always staying high. We do sometimes see reductions, and so I trust that Mr. Shively would have our best interest at heart. In this case, I would like to work with him for at least the next year and start this process, see if things go well, and then maybe after the first of the year, determine if we need to go out and do a complete RFP for a broker, and then allow that new broker or whatever broker it is, it could be Mr. Shively again, to help us secure that energy pricing. I'm just trying to read my notes here. If you are agreeable to this, I can present a modified agreement from Green Sky that would be more appropriate for this new arrangement. But again, what we have in place could be continued or not discontinued, whatever the case may be for proper wording. So that's my recommendation. We need to buy power. We need to try to get it at the best prices that we can. And, I have personally worked with Mr. Shively for the last 6 years or so. And what I've seen in the last several months, especially, he's been very helpful, especially in our unfortunate turn of events that we needed to work through. And I feel that he's being very open and honest with us in the current situation. And so that's what I'd like to recommend. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Yeah, Ann, go ahead.
So we're still doing the RFP.
No, we would not look at an
okay.
RFP. We would just do a modified agreement with Green Sky, keep our current agreement with NRG in place, and we could specify a period of time, or we could leave it open-ended, and then we can seek to end those arrangements in the future, and then would go for an RFP. But again, it's now March. We need to have something by the end of June. I'd really like to just stay status quo right now with our service providers, and that's my rationale.
Oh, for sure. It was
No,
just
I'm just
me trying to
explaining.
make sense of when you said RFP at the turn of the year, I wasn't sure.
I meant January.
Yes,
Turn
got-
of the year. I apologize.
No, that's just my slowness. So
No,
thank you.
no, you're
Okay,
fine.
thanks.
Okay. Other? Is there an online comment? Yeah, go ahead.
So I guess the question I would ask is just when the recommendation would come forward, which I think that all makes good sense, how are we going to frame in a discussion about the type of, as you mentioned in the memo, the type of power or the distribution of types of power that we're going to allocate or consider allocating, or are we going to set parameters? So it's just a question. I'm not making comment on my thoughts on that, but that would, I imagine, be part of that agreement.
That would be part of the conversation. Absolutely.
So that would be one thing that we have to do. And then I just have a comment to make that I know what you said, our recent incident, and we don't want to necessarily get too much into it, but the entire intent of the power purchase agreement was to lock in low prices to avoid specifically catastrophic world events, which we are now dealing with, and massively escalating oil prices. At the inception of our discussions of creating that collaborative, unsettled issues in the Middle East was a significant driver of the decision to open that conversation. And unfortunately, with the withdrawal of federal support to renewable energy development, we have lost that opportunity and now are faced with potential significant escalation in energy costs for our municipalities, which is really unfortunate.
To go back to your first part, yes, just as we did before we moved to Mr. Shively and NRG, and we're preparing for the PPA, we looked at both green and traditional power sources, and we can look at those pricing. There's many new board members here at the table, so I wouldn't make any presumptions of what you, I mean, obviously price is an important factor, I hope, and as it is for me, but I also need to take that into account. So we will bring that forward.
And honestly, to that point, I would be interested in knowing how much, if we set parameters, how much flexibility do we have to change them within the agreement? Because in all honesty, at some point, there will be a cost tipping point where we have to make considerations of whether, which is the biggest driver.
Correct.
I just wanted to add that one of the goals that the power purchase agreement still would have met would have been price stabilization. It just would have been at a higher price than the parties were prepared to pay, including us, at this point. But that may change because of these developments, because of all the AI data centers that are being planned all over this country that will, that essentially are going to be like if every few months there was a new city of Seattle that needed power, and so this is something that may still be on the table in the future.
Okay. Any other comments, questions for Randy? All right.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Up next, we will have Dr. Beaver, Dr. Bucher, and Mr. Hetrick join us to provide a follow-up on the Gaggle online student safety pilot, which the district has been engaged in for the last several months. Welcome.
It's always helpful to have the tech director with you here when you have a little tech issue. All right, good evening. So thanks for having us back. We were here back in the fall to talk about the pilot, the Gaggle pilot that we were going to run. We're here to give you an update on how that pilot went and give some information, some feedback, some recommendations, and also get your feedback on next steps. So I'm going to be kicking it off here. So just giving you a little bit of overview as far as what online safety systems are. We are tonight talking about online monitoring activity. For example, we're currently using a company called Securely that does various things, as well as the pilot for a competitor named Gaggle. So also what this does is it filters content for our students when they're using district devices. It also alerts staff as needed for high risk and concerning behavior when it's detected on our Google Workspace, on our computers that we issue to students and the like. Also supports digital citizenship and provides oversight to give us alignment with our school district policies and laws. So the history here that prior to my time here in the district, just want to give a brief overview of the history of how we got to this place. Back in 2020, we brought in GoGuardian. They were providing web filtering, classroom management for Chromebooks for our students. Then in 2020 of September, we put a parent letter out notifying parents about the ability to watch their students or monitor their students' browser activity. 3 years later, we brought in Securely, which is what we are currently using for content filtering and classroom management, as well as student safety. And then recently, there's also, I believe there's an app for that as well. And then recently, we explored looking at Gaggle for a more targeted approach.
Okay, so I'm up. So just to kind of help understand, school districts are legally required to provide some services for students because we provide them accounts and internet access. So on the left-hand side, that covers what we're legally required to do under SIPA, which is the Children's Internet Protection Act. Essentially, we are required to filter those devices to protect from adult content, other malicious sites or content, or anything a minor should not be able to access via a website or web browser. We are required to monitor those regardless of location, whether it's the account or the device, so not just at the district, but also if we're letting them take the devices home like we are, we would have to monitor that at home as well. And then we are required to provide educational or digital literacy opportunities for students through the curriculum throughout K-12. Anything above that is considered optional, and that is up to the district and their leadership to decide how far they would like to go with that. So services like Gaggle with full student safety and management to that extent are optional. Some districts do provide those services, some districts do not.
Thank you, Justin. So talking about the Gaggle pilot, the overview, what we did is we simultaneously ran Securely K-12, and we also ran Gaggle on grades 9 and 10. We did that at State High as well as Delta. We notified parents as well as students that we would be doing this, so they had some awareness of that. And what we did was we ran this since November currently through March. And the purpose of this was really to evaluate Gaggle's accuracy, usefulness, and the workload impact compared to Securely. We really wanted to determine if we can intervene early enough to answer the calls for help that might actually be existing on our network. So our students are using our devices and networks, and there's reporting things and writing reports might relate to health class, things to that effect, as well as other things, and we want to be able to step in and assist before while the time is right and we get early intervention. One modification that we did make to the pilot, the way that this typically works in other school districts, is and Stephanie will talk about this shortly, there's 2 different levels that come in, and we did modify it that the mid-level alerts of concerning behavior, QCONs, they were sent to the administrative team, so much thanks to Laura Tobias and John Downs and their teams. It was a team effort as well as the support behind them at the administrative and counseling level. But those alerts normally would go to someone that was managing the dashboard. We modified it for the pilot so we could get a better feel that all the alerts went to the administrators first, and then we went from there.
Okay. So what is Gaggle? Gaggle is primarily a student safety program or platform. It is not focused on internet filtering. So it is focused on that optional component of the student safety. What sets Gaggle apart from some other vendors that we've looked at, like Securely and things like that, is it has a human or one of their safety care team members review all of the alerts. because all of these platforms work off of very similar technology. They have keyword lists or AI technology that
Well,
alert.
Justin, it's not all of the alerts, right? Because a human doesn't review every alert. It's the AI filter alert.
It's an AI-powered monitoring system which triggers an alert. If it
But
triggers,
the initial alert is filtered first by AI, and then that decides which ones go forward to a human.
the content is filtered for an alert. If an alert is triggered, it is reviewed by a human safety care member. And then that is essentially a complement to Safe to Say. So where a program like Securely, what we have now, does not have that human layer on it, that's the benefit that we saw with Gaggle, where that's reviewed and we see less false positives with the alerts that we receive. How Gaggle works, speaking to some of Amy's questions, it's 24/7 monitoring on the account and the device, and it's looking for keyword content or certain search terms or search history, but it is all of these resources and any student safety are looking at keywords and things like that to determine an alert or to make a detection. Once that detection is triggered, that is the alert that fires off from the software, and then it's reviewed by the human team at Gaggle, the safety team at Gaggle, and they will determine whether it's relevant and should be escalated to the district and make that school notification. Gaggle categorizes those into two categories. It's QCon, so questionable content. We see those a lot with things like at our high school level, we have a lot of health and safety classes, so those will trigger things that are QCon, where they're not necessarily life-threatening, versus a possible student situation is a life-threatening immediate alert that they're going to call, notify someone, notify law enforcement, and get an intervention in place for that alert. Privacy considerations are obviously huge with these types of resources, so just calling out what's monitored and what's not for you guys. District-owned devices, district's Google Workspace, and district email accounts. So whether you're using that email account on your personal device or not, it's the district's account, it's the district's device. That does not extend beyond that scope. It's not personal devices, it's not Facebook's, it's not personal email, it's only anything the district owns or oversees.
So during the pilot, these are the numbers that Securely reported are alerts. These are unfiltered alerts. They're pulling everything from anything across our Google platforms, our devices, or anything the students might be doing in class, health classes. They're reading Romeo and Juliet and they're doing a paper on it. That's what it's pulling. Gaggle, through their filtering system, as well as a human oversight, they flagged 148. 147 those were QCon, so those are the questionable content. And so how the QCon comes in is that came to the administrative team. The administrative team would review, kind of determine what was happening in that student's world, and then they would take the next steps for necessary. Does it need to be a Columbia suicide screener? Does it need to be a threat assessment? Does a parent need to be contacted? All those kind of things. And they were looping in the counselors as well as those. One of those ended up being a PSS alert. And so what the PSS is flagging for a potential safety concern from a student based on the content, and that was being filtered over the device. And that ended up making an intervention and connection in the middle of the night for that student and for that family to make sure that that student was supported. So while Gaggle is delivering fewer alerts because of the filtering system and because it's having that oversight, there is some added layers where Securely that is going, like, that would need to be kind of worked through a school team to kind of determine what those flags were. And so like 4,600 alerts, that can be very definitely overwhelming to a team. So just talking about the life-saving interventions that happened during our pilot, we did have one flag that required an administrative response in the middle of the night. So key takeaways, it is a proactive. So we're actually taking those alerts and actually like putting actionable steps and interventions to those and how we're responding to students. And there's mental health and wellness checks. There's a human on the other side, kind of going through those and kind of learning. So it's not just every flag that's coming through. So hopefully appropriate timing of escalation, who they're contacting. It is a layer into those safe to says that we also have with PCCD. Just side-by-side comparison in regards to securely, some of the challenges is the volume of those filters and trying to filter through like what that looks like, what needs to be flagged, what are things that we should be alerting to. There are, I will also want to note that PSS alert was not flagged by Securely. So the student safety concern that we had during this pilot was not flagged by Securely, but was flagged by the Gaggle team. Securely, just the prioritization, the burden, who that falls onto, just so talking about level of capacity in order to respond to those. Because if it doesn't have that filtering system, there's a lot of noise with that. So trying to kind of decipher like what is being said across those platforms and across those devices. And there's no human review of that. That would also fall on the district team to do it. Where Gaggle has that added, they are ranking those QCons, so those questionable contexts going to a dashboard. You can triage it. You can kind of see like where those alerts are coming from. And then, of course, the PSSS is a high-level flag, similar to your safe to says, that it's also getting connected and an actionable step for staff.
I'm back. Pricing comparison for you guys. We currently spend approximately $33,000 a year on security services. What we're looking at for Gaggle for the fully monitored solution would be about $30,000 a year. Just again, going back to what is required by a district and what is not, Gaggle does not provide that filtering component that we need at this time. So we would still have to maintain components of Securely. So we would only see a real $6,000 in savings on that Securely licensing cost. So below, again, this is just an estimate, obviously, because with technology, these things can change, prices can go up, but we're typically averaging about a 3 or 4% increase on subscription-based software costs over a year. So with Gaggle plus a reduced Securely, you're looking at about $175,000 over 3 years. Staying with just Securely is about $102 or $101. So you're averaging about $74,000 over 3 years to make this change to get Gaggle at the district.
So as we went through, we identified some challenges. So the pilot was beneficial that we were able to get our hands on it and learned the way it worked. And one of the things that we explained earlier is the QCons, questionable content. One of the challenges that we need to work on refining with Gaggle is we found with the context of the word suicide, when an alert would come in, our team was very concerned about like, well, that's rated as a mid-level, but the word suicide is in the title. So we really felt that we needed to jump on that and not wait till the next morning to respond to those. So that was that level of refinement that we're working with Gaggle on to see if there's a way to better improve that because of the sensitivity that we have on that particular approach. So also we had staff training. What if we were to bring this in further? As I mentioned before, this was 2 buildings. So thanks to John Downs and Laura, as I mentioned earlier, but we would need to broaden the scope to possibly 12 schools, 12 principals, the assistant principals at the high school and the middle schools, and so forth, so that they would need some additional training. As I mentioned earlier, typically in school districts, a school counselor would be involved or possibly a dean. So whatever direction we decided to go with how the QCons were actually addressed and triaged, we would need to have training for those people. We're looking, the training that we did some light training with our current counselors to get their feedback, although we're not directly involved with the dashboard, and also with our administrators that were gracious to help us, estimating about 2 to 3 hours of training for those groups to get them up to speed on how this would work if we went for a wider implementation. As far as staffing, the district, we have about 6,800 students in our district, recognizing the need for the additional staffing to triage this. In speaking with the administrators who were taking the phone calls in the middle of the night, the phone call that we did get, the life-saving one, as well as the 148 QCons. That's a lot. That doesn't sound like a lot, but that's only 2 grades, and there's a lot of work that goes behind that. Some of the responses that we got could take 2 to 3 hours of time to resolve to work with a student beyond just the initial triage. So we're recognizing the fact that we would need additional staffing to monitor that if we went K to 12 to monitor 6,800 students approximately. One of the other considerations, and it's showing my gratitude for our administrative team, the work-life balance for administrators. The one call did come in, I think it was 11:36 at night. I was asleep. I got the notification via text. One of our administrators got the phone call at their home. They got up and rustled the team together, and we were able to respond. It was a good amount of work. It was disrupting of your home life balance. However, I think I would find anyone that would disagree with the fact that there was the idea that we stepped in and were able to help a student that was in a situation that needed, my assessment, that needed some assistance at that very moment, and it was very urgent. And also thank you to our local police department that also assisted with that, as well as on the ground, boots on the ground. So that would cover there, and then so that work-life balance for our administrators that would be taking the phone calls. Just to clarify, we do have, Stephanie mentioned, Justin mentioned, Safe to Say. So that's a reactive system that the state runs that has been in place for probably the last 9 or so years. And that really relies on community members, parents, students to call in or send a text message to Safe to Say. And then that is filtered at a person in Harrisburg, and they send the reports to our phone. So I get for all the buildings for the district, I'm on the list. Stephanie, Mrs. Yoder, we get all the ones. So we are woken up in the middle of the night, but the biggest difference is they're reactive, and we're relying on other people to step forward and give us a notification to assist. So it's a very similar program, but reactive versus proactive filtering. So as far as the recommendations, as I mentioned, the life-saving, that really caught our eye and really got our attention when that occurred. So some of the recommendations that we'd like to explore is moving forward with doing a switch from securely to Gaggle from 4,000 to 148. And that's, just as a reminder, that was 2 grades for about 3 to 4 months of the pilot. So looking to move that from 2 grades to K to 12 monitoring. So one of the challenges that we are kind of looking at is where do you start monitoring? You think of a kindergarten student probably not doing as much online as a junior or a sophomore or senior. But really what we have to factor is that we give all of our students devices. We have a one-to-one program in our district. So I think that's the starting point. We're giving them a device. And then really looking at what point do the students more actively get involved with their student work, their Google accounts and email. Is it 3rd grade that kids are actually getting email, 4th grade, those things. So it's this balancing act. And the one thing that we're concerned about is, yes, it might cost, I don't know if the money, Justin can talk about that a little bit better, but if we're not monitoring kindergarten, what if we miss something in kindergarten 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, or wherever we decide to start? Because we do get alerts. They're not as frequent, but we do get alerts for those younger elementary students. Like I said, they're not common, but we would like to, if able, to intervene regardless of the grade level. So that's really the balancing act that we are trying to look at there, as far as if this were to go across the district, where would we start and stop? And I'd rather rest on the safe side. And so in addition, as I said earlier, bringing the additional staffing that we feel that would be needed, we feel that 2 counselors or deans would be appropriate into managing a K-12 and platform, really monitoring 12 different schools, depending on where we start in the grade span. We feel that would be appropriate based on our numbers that we have on just 2 grade levels over a 3 to 4 month span. It's challenging to share staff, so it's hard to say, is 2 the magic number, is 3, or is 1? But have one person covering all 12 buildings, all grade spans, working with all the different administrators. I'm not really sure that's going to be appropriate coverage.
So I'm sorry, Jonathan, so you're suggesting instead of expanding, you're talking about a role simply this is their primary job, and role is to deal with these alerts across a multiple, as opposed to like a person in a building who actually knows the students in the building?
So we feel that
I just wanted to clarify what
how we
you're-
could, so if it were to be, as you said, like shared, we feel like we have a need and we'd have to take something off someone's plate. So we could say 2 people covering K to 12, not ideal, because the kids, like you mentioned, they don't know the staff. But if you're going to say, we're going to take this off somebody's plate, and you're not going to do this anymore, but you're going to pick up this for this building, or maybe 2 or 3 elementaries, whatever it may be, because we're predicting the elementary is going to be less. We just have to figure out that staffing, but we're predicting in that combination that we would need 2 people to adjust to move caseloads and workload around.
Okay, so exactly how it would be structured is still not completely determined.
Yes.
Because at first I heard just like 2 roles and that's all.
Yeah,
that's what
that
they
hasn't
do.
been determined yet because we have to look at our other staffing and see where the need is.
Right.
Obviously, if we don't pursue this or if it's not approved, then we would look at our other staffing and see what we need. But we're looking to incorporate this with other staffing that we think we're going to need, and then figure out how to help each of the buildings in dealing with their.
I just wasn't sure what you were saying.
Yeah.
So I was hearing one thing. I wanted to know if what I was hearing was what I thought you meant, or whether you meant something more complex. So
Yeah,
so it's a little bit
it's
of
gonna
both.
be
It
more
sounds like.
complex.
So okay.
Yeah. My last point is really just, our focus here is, working with the administrators that tackled this and their teams. I don't want to forget their teams that supported them. It was not a light, an easy lift. It was time intensive. Just wanted to recognize that the need for staffing there because of what they were so gracious to assist us with in the last few months. And really just ultimately, the fact that we're really just trying to keep the safety monitoring mechanism as a priority and keeping kids safe. District Online, our online devices, we give them tools. Sometimes we feel we need to do a little bit monitoring so we make sure they're staying safe with all the things that they can access and get into with the devices in the world. So that is where we're at as far as this point, but we are certainly interested in hearing feedback, questions from the board.
I know we've had a series of questions come up. Happy to start on this side. Did you have any you wanted to ask, Jackie?
So I'm pretty sure I know the question to this, but I just wanted to ask, would this be an opt-in, opt-out? Like, would families be able to opt their students out of this program?
No.
No.
No, it would be, if the district moves forward, it has to be a district-wide rollout from the Google administration side, so you could not opt out of it.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions? I think Rebecca, or Jesse. Jen?
I just wanted to bring forward some of the students that we had talked to at the high school information session. Some of their concerns were, and I know you've addressed them, but some of their concerns were, who are these people that are looking at our information? And so I just wanted to stress that it's not people looking at your information to try to get you in trouble, to do anything like that. In fact, no one's, looking through the list of searches that you're doing. That's something that AI or that a computer is doing. It's when things are flagged that the actual person gets involved. So I just wanted to say that to help people feel a little more comfortable. And secondly, I know I'm very biased, but I think this is absolutely a great step forward, because it doesn't matter how much money. If you save one life, you've saved a life. So I appreciate the work that you've done.
Thank you.
Yeah, Lily?
I did want to ask what the next approach would be when students found a way to work around the AI triggering. Like as soon as a student realizes that if they phrase something in a certain way, it's going to trigger the AI, they might just phrase it in a way that doesn't.
That is an interesting question. Obviously, that happens now. So that's something that you're constantly working against with IT, and something that I think as it happens, the filters would be revised based off of the terminology or the content that students are using at that time to try to catch it. But with any filter, it's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect. It's just trying to do as much as you can.
Also just add that a slightly different question or comment would be that we did notify students that we were doing this, and we still got these alerts. So they were somewhat aware that we would be looking.
Yep. Ann, go ahead.
We've previously received emails from community members about guest and incognito bypass for content filtering, which I know is securely. Is that potentially an issue with this?
There.
Does that question make sense?
Yeah, it does. Not specifically those things, but obviously there are ways to bypass any technology. As I said earlier, it's not perfect, but as a new way comes up, we try to get a way to block that. So it's just a constant evolution.
It's just not as easy as going incognito, which would
No.
be right.
Yeah,
So
no.
I just wanted to say
Yep.
that out loud.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Rob?
So I guess I'm concerned a little bit with the AI filtering. We're not quite, I don't know that we're quite there. I guess some of the data that I would like to hear back is the people who are already looking at Securely's data, do they find the alerts from Gaggle insightful, or what is some of the feedback from them? I guess the way that I view this, maybe there are people who study like massive amounts of water, like rivers and things like that. And then there's people who look at it under a microscope. And I'm wondering, like, so that information overload that is being used as a justification for why Securely is too much, and now we're cutting it off to a trickle. Like, what is missed in the rest of that? I get it, it's overload, but is there something valuable to be gained from all of that as well? Again, and maybe that was two questions there, but I don't know that I quite am on board with the AI being kind of this infallible kind of thing. You know, I'm so.
That's a great question. I'm not sure I can answer that. I would just refer back to that we did talk to other school districts, and there's more anecdotal. The districts that we spoke to, various counties throughout the state, they've had some similar situations where they have felt they've saved a life or multiple lives. So that's the anecdotal. As far as the AI, like we had mentioned, Stephanie had mentioned we had the two comparisons running simultaneously. Yes, it caught 4,000, but it didn't catch the one that was most likely the most important. So that's probably the best way without pulling numbers to say. I think the other factor is the reality is that with Securely, we're collecting this information, and it's so much information we feel we can't do much of anything.
Yep.
But with Securely, it's targeting that we feel that we can, even with the mid-level, we've had some serious mid-level where we felt we've got some really good interventions in place to be proactive and not have things result in a negative outcome.
Will there be maybe a collection of some feedback from people who have had to wrestle with both Gaggle and Securely? Counselors who've had to deal with this information?
So I can speak to the Securely side of it because of the volume primarily, we're handling those from the IT perspective at this point. We're treating it like a filter alert. Where if it hits a threshold that's concerning to us, we're actually doing a safe to say, or we're doing something similar to that. Or during a student issue at a building, they're putting a request in for us to go look at the Securely content. The benefit to Gaggle is the context. So the alert is all we're getting in Securely. We have no context around what they were doing, or like you just see the search term. And to speak to the AI component of it, again, Securely is using the same thing. It's AI. That's somewhat of a buzzword for companies right now. They're using it for everything. It's really just an algorithm that's looking at keywords and alerting on that. Where Gaggle is, in my opinion, providing more insight is that they're having the human review that's looking at the context around the alert and providing that to the district when the alert comes in, rather than just the keyword that the kid triggered or something like that.
But isn't there a difference in the number of, like, so Securely is producing thousands and Gaggle's producing hundreds that then they're not having thousands that people.
Gaggles, I would anticipate, and I can ask them to tell me how many we have triggered. I would anticipate that we triggered more than they referred to us.
And then does that human look at every key? Like, because my understanding was that, and so I might be wrong, Gaggle runs the keyword search, and then it utilizes an AI algorithm to analyze the context around that keyword usage, and then it passes some set of pings on to humans.
Threshold limits.
Right, so there's a different filtering process.
So Securely just is keywords.
No, Securely also has threshold limits for alerts. So there are alerts that don't meet Securely's thresholds that don't trigger.
But they don't look at context.
They do not provide the context. They provide the alert, and then they try to categorize the level of the alert.
So like, if you think of it like a funnel, Gaggle has one extra piece in there, is what I'm hearing and understanding at that context evaluation, which is algorithmically based before it triggers a human. So there is a difference in their process. Maybe from a tech perspective, it's minimal, but
from a tech perspective, I understand where you're coming from. I don't know that it is as big of a difference as it looks like, because it's really like Securely's one, Delhi Daho's one, Hapera's one, GoGuardian's one, Gaggle's one. They all do the same thing. We had the same concern when we had GoGuardian. We had thousands of alerts with GoGuardian on student filtering or searches that was bringing up things that were concerning. We had more. We have the same with Securely Aware. So I anticipate the Gaggle seeing far more than 148 alerts that they're passing on to us. It's just their algorithms from what they're seeing are trying to wean that down to actionable alerts, if that makes sense.
I think I saw Deb had a comment a little while ago. Why don't you go ahead, Deb?
Thanks. I have several questions. Some of it is data that I guess I would like to see before we are asked to make a decision. So information that maybe you could bring back if we have another conversation. And depending upon how this all goes, my own personal preference might be one more conversation before the conversation where we vote. But maybe we can see what the board thinks at the end of this conversation. Okay, so the decision to go K-12 versus perhaps 6-12, I hear your point of we don't want to miss something, but I do think it's important that we compare the cost of that, because it's not just the cost of the software, it's the cost of the staffing, which I guess I would also question whether 2 positions shared over K-12 is really enough, or if you think the number of alerts for elementary is that small. Like, I just don't even know what a kindergartner is even doing that you would be looking at. So anyway, I feel like I have a lot of questions about this K-12 thing. Related to that, something we haven't even talked about today is the privacy concerns. Like, this whole conversation just assumes that we're okay with constant monitoring of our students' work, which I guess we're kind of doing already, but I feel like it is something that we should be talking about. Related to that is, what are the types of student work that are generating the flags? Is it their email? Is it the web searching, which we have to check, right, and we're getting with Securely? Is it the Google Chats? who's allowed to use Google Chat in our schools right now? What grades is that turned on for? Do we need to have Google Chat running in the schools? Because I have heard from some teachers and administrators that perhaps if Google Chat were turned off, that might be beneficial. So anyway, are we getting alerts from Google Chat? Are we getting it from email? Are we getting it from Google Docs? Is it from their homework assignments that they're inputting? Is it the work that they're doing in school? And it's not to negate any of this. Like, on a very small personal note, over winter break, I went through some random stuff I had from my attic, when I was a kid, and I found poems that I wrote as a teenager, and I'm like, I can't believe I wasn't sent to the counselor for this. But the teacher must have known me well enough to know that I was just writing a poem and that I wasn't in crisis, right? Which again brings up, I guess, another thought that I have. If we're going to be hiring more individuals, do we want to consider what's the best use of their time? Is it monitoring gaggle alerts, or is it developing relationships with students? From a work-life balance, because I'm not exactly sure I heard the full answer to Amy's question. Is it people that are literally their job is going to be looking at gaggle alerts, or is that going to be a part of their job? Because if your whole job is looking at gaggle alerts, that seems like a pretty stressful job. And I'm not sure what counselor who wanted to do school counseling to work with kids really wants to take the job to just look at the alerts. So I don't know if that's how we were planning to structure it. And I understand, trying to be efficient with the resources across grades, but that's a concern I have. And is 2 positions really going to be enough? I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep this quick. I guess I would like to hear a little bit more direct feedback, a little bit to Rob's point, from the Delta and high school administrators who worked on this. How much time did it take to chase down the other 147 things? What do they see as the pros and the cons of this particular program? Because 148 alerts is still a lot, as you said, and that's a lot of things to look at. So I'm concerned about, I was concerned about even expanding it to just the high school, and then I can understand why we would want to include the middle school. And then you're talking about K-12 and just the volume. It seems, I can't see how 2 extra people is going to be enough. So I think, let me just look at my notes. Those are my main concerns. And I guess I would like maybe this conversation to be a little bit in the context of the budget, because when we go through the budgetary process, we are told about all the different staffing needs and requests of the different departments, and there's some prioritizing that comes from the administration to us, and then we also are asked to weigh in on our priorities. And I guess we need to understand, is staffing for Gaggle, where does that fall in the list of priorities for required staffing for next year? Because we usually hire like 1, maybe 2 new people, 2 new positions a year, and this would take care of that. But I think we have needs in other areas. And so again, the trade-offs of those needs. So I'm sorry, that took me a long time.
That's all right.
Thanks.
Did you want to address her questions?
I don't know how many you can answer tonight. I'm
Right,
okay with things coming back. I can put this in an email. These are just a lot of the thoughts that occurred to me while listening to the
So
presentation.
I'd like to start with the staffing. So we are trying to offer assistance at all levels to help with all the general things, all the requests that are being made by administrators, cabinet, board members, and seeing where we can find something that jives together that can meet all needs. Okay, so we have to figure out what's approved, what people are asking for, and to see where we can fit these type of resources into their job descriptions. It will not fall on 1 or 2 people. It will fall over a system, okay? Because we need a system to deal with our needs of our school district. We say, I don't know, but I think that's a good question for Justin, if the cost is the same, K through 12 versus 6 to 12 would be the question that I think needs to be answered.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have that answer with you.
I don't have that with me. I can look at it. I would anticipate there might be a difference. I don't anticipate that it would be a large difference. Just with my experience with vendors with software licenses, they put a larger volume discount on a district license, and then as we take off students, they're going to increase the per user count. So it would get to a point where it might actually be almost the same or negligible difference to do K-12 versus 6-12.
But I think it's important to have those numbers so that we can know that, not assume that. So thank you.
I would also like to say that that we have done 2 audits, a bullying audit, a mental health audit. We had police involved with giving us recommendations, and most of those audits have come back with, are we doing some sort of system like this that is more detailed oriented than what we've been getting, which we're not really doing much with. And we have spent a considerable amount of money for those audits. And sad to say, we have had a number of suicides in the school district. And this has prevented one that we know could have been pretty serious, that we would never want to happen in this district again. We have had 148, and it's all different levels. Some are easy conversation, some are, you look at it and say, this was an assignment, there's no worries. Others require more intensive groundwork where you got to find counselors and call students in, talk with parents, and do threat assessments and suicide reports. But I think we need to move on something, whether it's this or something else, that provides us with the information that we need in order to make our lives easier. Because we're going to do this no matter what. Safe to say, staff, administrators are already up at night answering those things. And that has happened since that was implemented. Other districts are looking at ways to help with the work-life balance of administrators. We're exploring ideas. Talked to Hollidaysburg. They have put something in their agreement to help out with that. I think whether we do this or not, I think we need to figure out something to help administrators with this. And the hours that they're putting in on weekends and at night. Counseling, we already know there's been issues with what they're tasked to do. The mental health is through the roof for our students. That has been since COVID, or even prior to COVID. That is happening all across our country. And we need to find ways of dealing with that. And these systems help us do our job more readily. Yes, we could get rid of Google Chat, but if that's where they're talking and we don't have access to that, we could be missing things. So that's our concern with getting rid of Google Chat. It'd be easier to do that, yes, but will we get the information that we need to help these students? And we've been having those kind of conversations and continue to have those conversations. So there's a lot of different aspects, and he's right about 6 to 12, because if you could have a fifth grader and something happened to a fifth grader, then, are we back here having this conversation again? So we just, yes, there will be less alerts K through 6. We understand that, but we'd rather kind of be safe than sorry. If there's only 1 or 2 alerts, that's great. We have plenty of counselors in each of those buildings to assist, or deans. We're more concerned about 6 through 12 and where we're going to get the resources to help those, because that's where most of our alerts are going to be. And we know that as a fact. They don't have Google Chat in 6th grade. They're talking about upping that to 7th and 8th grade. just because of the bullying and things that happen on that framework. But of course, they are finding other ways to do this. Whether we give them the means to it or not, they're finding apps and things that they can use to do this on the computer or elsewhere. So,
Yeah. Okay. I know Rebecca's been waiting. Go ahead, Rebecca. No, that was great.
That was really good. Thanks. I'm sorry. I really want to read this poem, and I can't stop thinking about it. So I'm very sorry. But seriously, you answered some of the questions I had about the questions related to like staff and different things. It still shows up on your slide that on who would be related. It's one of the slides at the beginning, like who this will cover, and it still says staff on there. And so when I asked Justin, does Gaggle scan all SCASD accounts or only student accounts? So are board member, staff, admin part of this, or are they excluded? And it was that this was just going to scan student accounts, so it wasn't going to scan everybody else. I had also asked about data retention for this. And so you had told me that it was the emails are stored for the duration of the account holder. So if we have a kid come in K and you have this going on in K, they're going to have it in here from 12 plus 3 additional years. You'll hold on to it. The couple questions that I have sitting through here is, my kids, we have Securely right now, and right now I get a weekly email with updates. What is the real-time effect of Gaggle? So if you got this one warning that had come up that was a high warning, how quickly did you get that warning? Like, if something flags, how fast is the turnaround to then it get reported to the admin team to then put something into place?
Without looking, I think it would be safe to say that it was within an hour, like total, like the time stamping of what was occurring in the messaging and the phone call that came in at 11:30. So, and then, we were able to get an officer out to the house as soon as possible. So I would say within that hour, I can't say where,
but
in that whole flow.
Yeah. And are the families involved in this? Like, if my child, because I have a range of grades for my kids, when would I be notified if the child was flagged? Like, are parents notified every time their child stuff is flagged, just if it's a high risk? Is it like, where does that stand on, like, if my kid's stuff gets flagged while they're working on something at school and you realize it's low risk, would I get that in like a weekly email that said my kid was flagged for something? If it was a high risk situation, am I notified right away in that 1 hour that it's coming up? Like, how does the parent involvement work with this?
So Securely, correct me if I'm wrong, is that you signed up as a parent to get those alerts, correct?
Probably. Sure.
Yeah, okay.
I feel like I sign up for a lot.
That requires, so like, regardless, you're going to get an email from Securely that has that alert and things like that. It would you are initiating that interaction. No?
I get them and I never signed up for it.
You never signed up for it?
Parents.
Did we opt in?
Parents, it's more of like an opt out by default. And so Securely is only the filtering. It's not the alert component of it.
Yeah.
And Stephanie, I think if you want to speak more to that, but I think that there are situations where you would not notify the parent that could happen with like a home abuse or something, because I know Gaggle brought that up. So that is, to my knowledge, Gaggle does not offer a notification to the parents. They notify the school
It's a
them.
triage approach.
Yeah.
So once the QCon goes to the school, then the school team is managing that. So even in a Columbia screening, like a screener for suicide or a threat assessment, depending on what alerts are within the system for that student, then, yes, you want to kind of include the parents in that, like triage and plan and things like that, unless there is a safety concern where the family or the parent itself is, triggering that and things like that. If they're triaging at school, then you would hope that connection is same day.
Sure.
Not in a weekly email. But I think the Securely thing, which you're talking about, is the weekly email, like these
Right.
flags
Here's
kind of
what
came
my-
up
yeah.
and everything like that.
And then the last one I had was really similar to just Deb's question, was the staffing for this. And I know what you touched on was really great, but you've done this for 2 grades over 2 schools. Yes, and for 5 months. And these people, the staff you're going to hire, you're going to have people in place working 24 hours a day with this? Is that because it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week monitoring, you have to have staff to cover all of that?
So the monitoring,
Okay.
I think the way it's set up is that's through the company, through Gaggle. They send the alerts. So they'll rate something as a QCon, so questionable content. That comes to a dashboard and an email. In general, the way that, other than the fine tuning that I mentioned, those would be addressed within 24 to 48 hours, depending outside of weekend. Their level that we could feel that they're not life-threatening in the moment. So we had the one life-threatening where, just like Safe to Say, those phone calls are coming to the building administrator. We have a call list. That person doesn't answer. It's coming to the assistant principal, and I'm on the list, and Stephanie and Mrs. Yoder. We just have the redundancy, just like we do for Safe to Say. So does that answer how that would work as far as, like, it wouldn't be 24/7 of us,
Right.
other than if it's a life-threatening phone call, our phones are going to ring.
Okay.
So I think it's twofold here. So yes, one of the things that we recognize within the pilot is that there is a need, like the capacity in how you respond and how you're triaging those cases and things like that. So the recommendations, like for the additional staffing, that could be, as Mr. Johnson said, like within a system, like what does that system look like? We're asking, like there's always requests for staffing at this time of year. And so how do you incorporate that, and how does that expand over? And that could look, you know what I mean? Does it need to be deans? Does it need counselors, social workers, mental health professionals? And these also came in those reports that we had with Dr. Swearer and Dr. Erbacher. So those are all like included in that. In regards to what you're talking, if 24 hours, I think we're just kind of, Safe to Say has people like in Harrisburg that's constantly monitoring those kind of things. Gaggle has people that are 24/7 monitoring those things. And when those alerts come in, like if they're PSSS, like those are things that we're going to respond to, just as part of that safety plan for, our district and things like that. So is that an every night occurrence? No. Does it happen? Yes. But I think any administrator sitting here, you know what I mean? Like there's a list, and you kind of go down through the list, and we kind of have like a protocol of like what to do with that. So it's not saying that somebody's going to be on call 20, like a dispatcher or things like that, but also thinking systematically, like what does every team need in order to kind of, understand and meet the balance of capacity.
I think that's everything. If not, I have all your emails, and I'll send stuff
Lily had
off
a
if I need
question.
more. Thank you.
Yeah, I think Lily had a question earlier.
I wanted a little bit of clarity on whether or not the person that was overlooking these only received the AI context that it got after. You said it was, an algorithm that uses keywords, and then the AI analyzes the context. And does the person only receive the AI content summary?
You want to go ahead?
So without going into too many details, whether it was an email or it was a chat or whatever form it came in, we actually had, this is what was said, this is the context, like it was a back and forth. So
Right.
that's how we were able to address the context. So we get the context after they have evaluated it to further make sure that it's on target and knowing that student.
The only reason I asked, this is definitely an isolated incident, and understandable that instances like this will occur in order to keep the majority safe. It was brought to my attention there was a student that had a message with one of their fellow classmates about, do you think the teacher's going to let me borrow the EXO razor for our class project tomorrow? I don't want to have to bring one from home. All that got flagged was EXO razor from home. She did, her family did receive calls, and she got called into the office multiple times the next day, despite clarifying over and over. And that's, again, fine if it means that more students are going to be safe as a result. But it does make me concerned about the amount of context people are receiving if they can read it in that way and still perceive it to that degree, and where we're putting resources.
Yeah, and that's the level between the questionable content. The question is, what's the context? The school would have more context of what that is. Might have been related to an assignment or some type of lab assignment. And I didn't handle that particularly situation. So, but you know, we're also saying that's questionable. And so we've had ones that are, this is a real deal questionable one. We've been able to intervene and feel good about that. And there's other ones like, okay, like safe than sorry, but we realize it's not something we need to take a lot of action on. The phone calls that in the middle of the night, that's a whole different level of response.
Jennifer?
As far as K to 12 versus 6 to 12, and I know if we look at the price, it might not even be, you know, a non-issue, but kids are smart. And if you're a little kid and you know, if you're a sixth grader and you know that your little brother's computer is not monitored and yours is, I mean, or you don't have battery life and so you take your kid, you know, I'm just saying that these are district computers, so we are responsible for them, the content that is on them, no matter who gets their hands on them in our district. So that's just something to keep in mind, that even if it's not likely that a kindergartner or first grader is going to have anything objectionable, you don't know who, I mean, somebody else in the family could be using that, another kid could be using it, and, you know, just saying that, yeah, I just thought I'd bring that up.
Deb?
First of all, I will be very brief. Thank you, Curtis, for your comments, because I really appreciated everything you had to say, and it did answer a lot of my questions. I want to go back, but it reminded me that I wanted to go back to something Lily said the first time around, which is, are kids going to get around this? And the answer is yes, eventually, somehow. And so I just wanted to reiterate something that I think I said the last time we talked about Gaggle that we haven't talked about a lot tonight, which is, you know, we need to be extra clear that parents and families understand what is and what is not being monitored, and that everybody understands that this is a partnership, that we, the schools, can't do everything, and we're not going to flag everything, and we still need the parents and the families to be vigilant and monitoring their students' use and their devices. Even the things that they think we might be monitoring, it'd be nice if they were monitoring too. And there's lots of things that we can't monitor that families need to monitor. So, thanks.
Yeah, Amy? No.
Yeah, I guess that's a little bit leading into where I wanted to sum up. I had sent some questions in advance, which you addressed in the presentation, which I appreciate very much. And so I wanted to acknowledge that. The big thing, request I would have is that I don't want to, when we talk about let's compare the cost is not the vendor agreement. The cost is the cost of the staffing and the vendor agreement and everything. And so when we say cost, I want us to be reflecting that all the time, because that's the realistic cost. It's the licensure is peanuts. The cost is staff time. So I think that's really, really important that we continue to focus on. And I appreciate your comments as well, Curtis, about work-life balance and those things. And I'm sure in your conversations with Hollidaysburg and other things and addressing administrator work-life balance, which I am fully on board and we need to do, there's a cost to that as well, most likely, right? So if we're going to do things to improve work-life balance for those who are taking calls in the night, whether they're Safe to Say or Gaggle or from whomever, usually that's remuneration. So that also has to be acknowledged and accounted for. So it's not just 20-some grand. It's much more significant than that. And it's important that we're talking about it that way. And the reason I want to harp on that so badly is that we are facing this budget discussion and what are the needs in our community and our district. And we have also talked about exploding mental health in general. And one of those other areas is elementary counselors and certain buildings that are in excess of our ratios that we would ideally want to see. So that also has to be factored in. The second piece, aside from making sure when we talk about cost, we're talking about real true costs, is to Deb's point, what is the benefit that we're getting? And there are a lot of, it's a little bit of a Swiss cheese situation, and that's not meant as a criticism of whether to do or not do this program, but I think it's important that we say it publicly and openly and honestly. This is not a solution. There is a lot of Swiss cheese in this process in terms of they control I know we can request tweaks, but they control the algorithm. They control the context stuff. They control who they hire for staff. As they grow and more districts hire companies like this, and frankly, the trend is to not hire people for jobs, but to create code for jobs, right? So are they going to be able to maintain the staffing they need? If our district is generating thousands of alerts a day and they hire and they take on contracts with 5 more districts, are they going to be able to hire 200 more people or whatever they need? I mean, I don't know what the ratios are, but you get my point, right? They've got to staff those people to do that job. Those people have to be trained adequately. We have to train our staff to know how to do what they need to do. Students can work around chats. Students can work around this. Students can use their phones, even though we're talking about cell phone policies and bans. Like, there's all these caveats. And I just think it's important that we're honest about that, because it's very easy to be like, we're going to get this software and we're going to get alerts and we're going to do great things. And I'm thrilled for the student who was in danger who received help when they needed it. That's wonderful. But I think it leads to some liability questions. Like, if something gets missed and we're using a service like this, who's liable? Is Gaggle liable because the algorithm that they're using didn't catch it? Are we liable because we made the choice to use Gaggle? Like, I don't know the answers to these questions, but they're relevant to the conversation as well. So it is very much like this funnel, right? And there's a lot of little holes that we can't catch everything. And I think I don't want to talk about it like it's a magic Band-Aid that's going to solve a lot of problems. There's other ways too that we need to address mental health that we've learned about in our audit, and that is human connection, counselors, quality time for teachers. How do we slot in the training for all of this for everybody? It's just a lot, and it's not to say that it's not worth doing. I just want us to be really upfront about what all is involved in doing it. So.
All right, Jackie, and then I think I saw Jen's hand.
All right, I do have 2 questions that I understand if you don't have answers tonight, but I would be interested to know more about do they share with us like what the keyword list is and what kind of control we do have over, refining that for our district? You can tell me later.
They will share the keyword list with us, and we have the ability to add or remove words from that list.
Okay, another question I have is, does it have to be 24/7 monitoring? Like, is that the only option?
Yeah. Yes.
As far as you know?
Yeah, they don't offer. I mean, they offer services above what we're looking at, as does Securely and other things, but 24/7 is the general default among the vendors.
Sure. So just to say it out loud, like, I'm really concerned about that, just because I really think that 24/7 monitoring for students and families who have kids with multiple devices who can go home and use something else versus a family who cannot have that, spread of electronic devices, and maybe a brother or a mom is utilizing that district device to do something at night. We're not just monitoring the student anymore. And so I have a lot of concerns about this 24/7 monitoring and who that might benefit and hinder. And then this is not a question, but just to add, I really think that I want to do everything to help kids. I'm here because I like education, and I want kids to come into a safe learning environment every day. But I really think it's important that we recognize that when we take steps with the intention of helping kids and keeping them safe, that there are oftentimes trade-offs to that. And this is honestly a level of surveillance of our students that I'm not really comfortable with. A real-time monitoring of the content they're creating that is then within an hour being flagged and notifying administrators of what's going on in their digital footprint within SCASD, to me is a bridge too far, because I really think over time that will work against the relationships that we're trying to build in school between teachers and students, students and students, students and admins. And like, I know I've said it before and I'll say it again, but like, I really believe education works because of this ethic of care where we build these relationships. And I really don't see how this sort of surveillance is going to work to build those relationships. I really see over time that it's going to hinder those relationships. So that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, Jen.
I guess my confusion is, please correct me if I'm wrong, we're already doing this amount of surveillance right now. We're already 24/7 through Securely doing this. So it's not that we're getting any, it's not that we're monitoring any more, or it's that we're calling the information better and utilizing it better.
Okay.
That's my.
Yeah. So again, back to the slide for what we're required to do as a district versus what's optional. We are required to filter students and monitor the account and the device 24/7 and the usage of that device 24/7. The optional component and the student safety component that I would say Gaggle is different is whether or not the district wants to move towards that student safety side of the house where someone is actually looking at those things 24/7 and providing threat assessments or information into the keywords or the searching at that level. So we're required to filter and monitor regardless. But going above that is what the conversation is that something the district sees benefit to as a service with a vendor.
And secondly, I think what Mr. Johnson said was important to note again, that we have spent money to ask the experts what they recommend. And this is what the experts recommend. This type of thing is one of the things. It's not all encompassing. It's not all on the district. This is one tool that can help students and that can help people and kids who are in need.
It just, to reiterate that, we were asked that question by the state police in one occasion about our level of monitoring for a particular situation. In the past, it was also recommended by Dr. Erbacher. And preliminary, it will be shared with the board fairly soon. The preliminary report from Dr. Swearer is the concern about unmonitored spaces. So that's like stairwells, but also unmonitored digital spaces as far as where bullying is occurring. And that's just preliminary. We'll share more about that.
So I actually had 2 questions I wanted to ask, just things that I hadn't heard. One of them is, we'll continue to use Securely. Do you know why Securely missed that PSS? What is it that Gaggle picked up on that Securely did not?
I can't answer that in detail. Again, all of the companies are using similar things. Their algorithms and keywords are all proprietary, obviously, so you would need to enter into an agreement with them, and then they're still not going to release to you the full extent of how they're categorizing it. They'll tell you the keyword list, they'll walk you through what their process is, but it's...
So are you able to go back to them and ask them, say, we had this incident that didn't get caught, what did you miss, or why didn't this happen?
Yeah, we can go back to Securely and do that. we have had, not to that extent. We've had something like from a behavior issue before that we did, and it was just a matter of it didn't catch it, and they apologize and go back through and come through. So again, none of these solutions are perfect. I think you've all said that. It's just all of the vendors are doing similar thing, and it's just whether there's benefit in that thing that we
And then
want to
is
use.
the sort of follow-up question is there any evidence that Gaggle has missed things, not necessarily in our district, but in other districts? I know they're probably not going to tell you that, but because they're not perfect, what are the kinds of things that they might miss, and what's their process for remedying that?
So, I mean,
I would
I
think
guess
that
the-
it's the key word. So we or the district would provide them, hey, you missed this, and you might want to add these key words to the algorithm, right? I'm just assuming that that would be one of the things that they would do.
Okay. Any other questions or comments, discussion? Had a pretty good discussion. And I want to echo what you all said. Thank you for your comments, Mr. Johnson. I think they were very helpful. So, oh, go ahead.
So I don't think we have received direction entirety. And I want to be cognizant or careful of, I have 3 administrators here that are putting in time to get this information. And it was a lengthy report. And to go and get more information to bring back to this table and have people that have their mindset. I just want to make sure that this is something I should be pursuing with them to gather this information and bring back, or is this something that is a dead issue or not? So.
Well, I guess because I said a lot of words, just wanted to respond to your question. It's not that I'm against using this software in particular. It's more about how this fits into our needs and our staffing demands. And if we can do it, if we find a way to meet the most critical staffing demands and this fits into it, I don't have a problem with that. I think, like you said, the 20 grand cost, that part isn't the real cost that I'm worried about. I'm worried about the staffing issue, and we need mental health types of staffing as it is. And that's just my biggest concern. That and the special ed needs and the gifted needs are the 3 biggest drivers I'm seeing coming at us all at the same time. And how we meet those. I would hate to launch a program and not be able to even come close to meeting the staffing needs and overwhelm administrators and counselors, and like other things would get missed too. There's always opportunity costs when we do things. So I'm as one, not necessarily against doing it at all. My biggest issue is just that we frame this within our discussion of staffing and make sure that, that we don't sacrifice. They're all critical. We just need the state. We need people to give us more money. But I mean, that's my biggest concern. Is just making sure that we're not overwhelming and making people, we know we have teachers that are overwhelmed. We know we have counselors overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. You're all overwhelmed. And the world keeps getting uglier, and that makes it harder for everybody. So. Okay.
So I'm going to hold this conversation until we have the staffing conversation first to see what we're recommending. And then if we figure we have enough staffing to proceed, then we'll do that. For now, we'll just put a hold on this until we have that conversation. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, or not.
Just a request, but would it be possible to get the PowerPoint added to the public agenda? Because I am concerned that the public wasn't able to see the actual recommendations of
we
the
will add that.
administration.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. So,
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we'll put a hold on this from the sound of it. We'll come back to it as we do a staffing discussion. All right, well, thank you, everybody, for a good discussion. Thank you for joining us. Our final information item this evening is an update on several policies that were reviewed at a previous policy development committee. Anne is going to lead this for us, and Michelle may join us at the table.
Actually, since we have 12 policies, if we want to just call people as needed to try and move
Sure.
things through, if that's
That
okay?
works. Yep, that works.
All right, excellent. Before I begin with the policies, I wanted to offer a brief update on the Welcoming Schools resolution. The working group has a draft they shared with the Center for Immigrant Rights Clinic and the Center for Education and Civil Rights. A meeting is scheduled this week to receive feedback with the hopes of having it on the agenda, if possible, next meeting. But we're moving things along. So that's that.
Right.
All right, so we have 12 policies for information and discussion. And as I indicated, to streamline the conversation, we'll ask people to come up to the table as needed. I've tried to put together a kind of bullet point for each one that just summarizes what the big change is. So if it's okay, we can just start going through the policies.
Absolutely.
Excellent. So the first policy is Policy 100, Comprehensive Planning Revisions. The draft substantially revised in accordance with Chapter 4 regulations that eliminate the requirement for school entities to develop strategic plans and are replaced with the development of specific separate plans. So any feedback on that? Questions?
Feedback?
No.
It's all right.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Check. 105.2 is exemption from instruction. We revised that. We addressed recent court actions, opportunities for opt-out provisions, and rights for students to decline participation in an educational project involving dissection.
Okay.
And any questions or feedback?
Can you tell me why was the special section on dissection added apart from the other sections?
Yes, so that there is, dissection is a kind of category in and of itself, but let's have the expert. Thank you, Chris.
So there are a couple of additions to this policy. One of them is exemption for strongly held moral beliefs, not just religious beliefs. And the other one was adding the part about the right to opt out of dissection, vivisection, anything that involves some organism that they are taking apart or examining inside.
So it was just an extra section to make sure that that right is preserved so that people couldn't argue that that can't be a strongly held moral belief or something like that.
Correct. Okay. And it's also based on some recent case law.
Got it.
Which we were following.
Responding to.
Thank you for coming up.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions? Okay. 204, attendance. The revision was to address requirements of school code. Noted in bold under the enforcement of compulsory attendance requirements. That's, I believe, the new section of the draft. So
Okay.
I know that Deb, we're good with that. There was a question, but okay, good. Okay.
Okay.
All right. We have a variety of policies related to special education, and the first one is 113, special education revisions. There were significant revisions. The original policy was last revised in 2003. It's been heavily revised to reflect Chapter 4 requirements and other applicable laws and regulations, as well as auditing requirements. Language included regarding significant disproportionality that was recommended by PSBA, even though the district was not identified in order to account for that. So it was an update, and there was a lot of very robust conversation, and I really everyone really appreciated the expertise of Dr. Pringle, and Dr. Hammersley-Quick. Okay, all right. So 113, discipline of students with disabilities. Again, that's a revision. Significant revisions as that original policy was 2003 and has not been revised since. It's rewritten and heavily revised based on current and state federal provisions. Both the provision of education during disciplinary exclusion and the referral to law enforcement and reporting requirements sections have been added. Original language regarding the removal of educational program has been heavily revised to reflect Chapter 10 regulations, Mental Health and Intellectual Disability Act, and other applicable laws and regulations.
So the stuff in bold is the new text?
Yes.
So was anything retained in this? I don't see any like unbolded text.
That was 113. I'm missing the dot in my
I think it's
note.
point one.
Point one, thanks. Ms. Heather Pringle,
There has been a lot of litigation.
I was thinking
around,
that, yeah.
Special education and discipline, so it clearly lays out to protect
Okay.
the district then.
yeah, and I mean, it is an update from
I was
2003,
going to say,
so.
it looks like a wholesale change.
Our policy team is doing incredible work, kind of making sure we're getting updated, so
Good.
shout out to them.
Right. Other questions about this policy?
Okay?
We're good to go.
Michelle, we okay? Okay, good. All right. 113.2, which is positive behavior supports and revisions. The district is mandated to maintain a policy on this topic. While used as a guide, PSBA has made heavy revisions and redrafted the policy in accordance with the most recent provisions of Chapter 10 regulations, the Mental Health and Intellectual Disability Act, and other applicable laws and regulations. So as CJ indicated, there's been a number of changes, and so we need to reflect that and are doing due diligence to double check things.
Okay.
Any questions or? Okay. So I'm okay to move forward? Okay.
Go right ahead.
113.3, screening and evaluations for students with disabilities. This is new. PSBA recommends this policy. That's one thing, like when we're doing policies, we look and see how laws have changed or if PSBA offers something new. So that was this, PSBA recommended this policy, which is drafted in accordance with the most recent provision, again, of Chapter 10 regulations, the Mental Health and Intellectual Disability Act, and other applicable laws and regulations. Okay. Oh, yeah.
It looks like you're rewriting a lot of policies from scratch.
Yeah,
Oh, man, I didn't mean to.
I mean,
I did it again.
We have to respond to the laws, and our like Jeannie is amazing in terms of being able to cross-check laws and what PSBA is doing. And I'm not sure, just right offhand, because I have notes, not looking at the policy,
Yeah.
so I can go by quickly. I'm not sure of the last date that was revised, but we try and to use administrators' times wisely, put things together so that when they come to meet our meetings, we're putting everything at once. So do you want to add anything as the
Yes, this is, as we've said many times,
Oh, yeah.
a monumental task to get through all of
yeah.
these. And there were a lot of policies that hadn't been revised in quite some time because it is monumental task. So we're being very systematic in how we're going through and taking a look at all of these. And as Ann said, when PSBA makes recommendations for new policies, this one being one, we take their language because they have all the research, and we go through it at the PDC and make sure that it aligns with SCASD before we bring it to you.
Was it just easier to rewrite a lot of these policies from the beginning rather
Well,
than.
this one was, thank you to Jackie for highlighting it, because
Yeah.
I'm kind of going through everything.
Yeah.
The other ones were old, and that's why I indicated the, late date. But this one is a new policy in response
that
to a
one
PSBA.
But I just noted there was a lot of boldface on all of these.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, we're
That's
hard
correct.
at work.
Yeah, wow.
Thank you so much.
And because we had to cancel a meeting, that's why we
Oh,
have so many.
Right, I forgot about that. Okay, so do I have permission to move forward? So 114, gifted education, this is revised. PSBA recommended revisions, including language regarding development, implementation, and public availability of a gifted education plan. The original policy definitions and standards used to determine students' suitability for gifted education have not been included, as PSBA regards these as procedural and not recommended for policy. So I assume that that will be part of the AR. Does that sound right, CJ? Yeah, okay. Did you want to say? No, are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Michelle, are you good? Okay. Any other questions about that?
I don't think so. Did you cover 113.4, the confidentiality?
Oh, no, I didn't.
I'm not sure.
Thank
Okay.
you. That's probably what CJ was gonna
Oh,
kind of, I jumped right into 114. My apologies. We are at 113.4. Everyone with me now? Thanks. Confidentiality of special education student information. PSBA recommends this policy to address the personal information and records specifically of students living with disabilities. The draft was written to to reflect the requirements of school codes, other applicable laws and regulations, as well as to meet the requirement auditors may be looking for policy language. So we're trying to kind of think ahead with that.
If I could just make one quick comment. I had sent a question because I noticed that this particular policy was incredibly specific about what exactly qualifies as personally identifiable information and how to keep it confidential, et cetera. And we need to keep student information confidential for all of our students, not just our students with disabilities. So I questioned why it wasn't as detailed in policy. I think it's 216. And my understanding is that revision is upcoming. So we'll probably see similar language coming relating to our entire student body very soon.
And I just recommend, PSBA has a monthly magazine, and their cover story, I think 2 months ago, was about student privacy and data. It was really a good article.
Cool.
So, and you
Thanks.
might want to check it out.
Okay.
Okay, so we've done 13.4 and we've done 14 because of my error.
Yes, I think we're at clubs.
So we're now at 123.1, club sports, which is the revision. Again, I believe we've talked about this.
NIL language.
Oh, yes. So, right. So that's, as Amy indicated, we're just adding that. Name, image, and likeness information. Okay, great. All right, so 212, reporting student progress. This is an. No, I don't have
think
204.
she skipped ahead. She skipped ahead to 204. We already did
You did
204.
too.
Oh, we did 204. I missed. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
I do have a question about 204. The revision date says 10/24 instead of 2024.
Okay.
Yeah, which I mean that would be a long time ago. I wasn't there for that. So
Okay.
I just noticed that now. So
Yeah, sorry, I'm working off a document that might be a miss. So right now we're at 212, right?
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for keeping me honest. Okay. 212, reporting student progress is a new policy. It's recommended by PSBA to clarify authority and communicate school operations for the monitoring, measuring, and reporting of student progress.
Interesting.
Okay. All right.
Questions?
And so I think,
Do we have?
Becca, are we okay? Okay. So I think we're at our last policy.
Oh.
All right. 223, student use of personal motorized, non-motorized transportation. We had a discussion about that, if you guys remember, I don't know, recently. And so this was recommended by PSBA to clarify authority in school operations and We fixed up the wording on it to ensure that we covered the siblings who might be driving, right?
Yeah, it was more about that they actually park, not just the driving on the
Right.
stuff.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
We
We cleaned it up. Yes.
made it more defined, I think, a little bit. Then it was kind of vague.
I guess on that note, I feel like it didn't fully get fixed because under authority, page 1, the first paragraph,
That's
the
one that
second
changed.
sentence, in what's linked to board docs, it says, in the case of a motor vehicle used by secondary students, students must be granted permission by the building principal to drive a motor vehicle on school grounds. And I mean, we're not giving permission to drive on school grounds. We're giving permission to park on school grounds during the school day, because honestly, after school, anybody can park. So it's really about parking permissions during the school day, I think. So I don't know if that got missed, because I feel like we talked about it,
Yeah, we did.
or if this somehow the wrong version got linked, that's possible. I know, I mean, there was a lot of policies, so no.
Yeah. We'll double
Exactly.
check on
Lots of
that.
grace.
So, thank you for catching that, because I think it's right under, you said it was under purpose, right? Because I just pulled it up as you were talking.
Under
Okay.
authority,
Okay.
second sentence.
Okay, you got it. Okay. Yeah, we'll take a look at that and then see what happened there. So,
I think we could still bring it back to vote.
is that okay?
If we're all agreeing that it's supposed to read differently, we can still bring it back to vote next one.
Is that okay? Okay.
Shots.
Yeah.
Scott's nodding.
All right. So, we almost got through all of them without that.
I
So,
mean-
but we tried. All right. So, thank you guys so much
Good.
for your patience, and thanks, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. All right, so that brings us to the end of our information reports. Next on the agenda is an opportunity for board members to share their updates on their committee initiatives. CIU, Jen?
I unfortunately was in the hospital for this meeting,
Oh,
so
boy.
I'm going to defer. Jackie, is there anything? I missed the last IU meeting.
It was a pretty short meeting. There's nothing to really report. Business as usual.
Business as usual, that's what we like to hear. SCASD Ed Foundation, Deb?
I can't remember if I reported after the foundation's February meeting. So a big deal in the February meeting was to talk about the spring mini grants. I can't remember if I brought that back. So anyway, every fall and spring, there are mini grant applications that teachers and students can request. The foundation funds some of them. So that was the main discussion in February. And then in March, it was mostly talking about the upcoming Maroon and Gray banquet. Again, that is, I feel pretty confident, is May 1, but I don't have it written on this particular piece of paper. It's on May 1. The beneficiary will be the athletic fund within the SCASD Foundation. They rotate the beneficiary year to year. And I don't think they've quite announced we've picked the honorees, but I don't know if they've been officially announced. So I'm not going to report that until it's officially announced.
All right.
That's it.
CTC Local Advisory Committee, we have not had a meeting, so I don't have any updates for you there. We go to the CAC reports. Deb and Rebecca, athletics.
Oh, yeah. Athletics. There was a meeting on the same day.
Oh, boy.
We got a great overview of the fall sports. I think Lynn recently sent everybody on the board a link, and I think the notes are uploaded to board docs, so anybody who's interested can find more details there. But lots of information about the fall sports, little bit of information about the expansion of the wrestling room. There was a lot of thankfulness for that and appreciation. Good discussion of the National Girls and Women in Sports celebration, as well as some suggestions for future years of that. Winter sports participation as well, and sort of looking ahead, I guess, to the spring. We got a nice update from Kelly Aston about the intramurals and clubs in the school district as well. And our there was a little bit of discussion about expanding intramural opportunities with a special consideration of sixth graders, because they're the ones that can't participate in PIAA sports, but really enjoyed their elementary intramurals. And so there's definite appreciation and understanding and awareness of that. Is there anything else, Rebecca, that I missed?
They talked about how Unified Bocce has grown a ton
Yeah.
over this year. They talked a lot about the IM program and how they're doing an IM reading program next year to help grow things outside of just athletics for the kids, and that seems to be doing really well. They talked a lot about funding, and finance was something that was brought up, but the growth overall continues for athletics in this district and ways that they can meet even more student needs. So it was a lot of information in that hour. Yeah. So it was really nice. It was a good positive meeting.
Bocce away. All right. Let's see. We go to facilities. Amy and Rob?
I don't think we've met, so.
No? Okay. Finance, Rebecca and Jackie?
We have a meeting on April 1st coming up.
Okay. School health and safety, Jennifer and Ann?
We have a meeting on April 22nd.
Okay. And technology CAC, that's Jesse, Rob, and I. I'm not sure. Do we have a date, Justin? It's April? Okay. All right. All right. So that concludes our agenda for this evening. Looking ahead to our future meetings, we have tomorrow, March 17th, 2026. Policy Development Committee will be here at 10:30 a.m. in the Panorama Village Boardroom. On March 23rd, 2026, we will be going over the Park Forest Middle School Act 34 hearing. That will take place here in the Panorama Village Boardroom at 6 p.m. And following that, March 23rd, 2026, there will be a board work session and a budget update that will immediately follow that Act 34 hearing here in the Panorama Village Boardroom. I would now like to adjourn this meeting of the State College Area School District Board of School Directors to an executive session. Have a good evening, everyone.